Good morning and welcome to our February 5th Board of Commissioners meeting. And I would like to ask Vice Chairman Bill Pate for the invocation.
All right, please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we seek your help with our affairs today. Bless this meeting with your divine intelligence and help us make the best use of our own. We are diverse opinion here, yet we wish to mend our differences and reach agreement satisfactory to all. Please share a little of your wisdom with us today and do right by all concerned. Thank you for your heavenly blessing. Amen.
Amen. Have a place to stand, Mr. Bale.
Okay. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I ask for approval of the minutes for January 15, 2019. Motion's been made. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, please indicate, raise your right hand. And next, Mr. Honeycutt, any discussion, adjustment of the agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing we wanted to do is with respect to our workshop with Skinner, Farlow, Kerwin, is to have that immediately after the regular meeting.
And then go into closed session.
After that, yes, sir.
Okay, any commissioner have any discussion or adjustment of the agenda? Okay, now we'll move to our special presentation. Mr. Honey,
Motion to approve the agenda.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Motion to approve the agenda. Motion made. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Now we'll get to special presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have Mike Myrick, who has served graciously as the director of the Wayne County ABC Board, and he is retiring, and we have a resolution, we have a plaque that we would like to honor Mr. Myrick with. So if you would like, I will be glad to read the resolution. Whereas Michael D. Myrick graduated from Goldsboro High School in 1970, and whereas Michael D. Myrick received his BA in history from East Carolina University and made history as part of the Wild Dog defense of the East Carolina Pirates from 1970 to 1973, winning back-to-back Southern Conference championships. And whereas Michael D. Myrick earned his master's degree in public administration from Oklahoma University in 1988, and whereas Michael D. Myrick served honorably for 22 years in the United States Air Force, flying over 3,000 hours in C-130s and retiring as a lieutenant colonel in 1996, and whereas Michael D. Myrick taught and served as a junior varsity football coach for Pinecrest High School in Southern Pines, North Carolina for 2 years, and whereas Michael D. Myrick served as the business manager for Wayne County ABC Board on December 22nd, 1997, serving as president of the North Carolina Association of ABC Board for 2 terms, and whereas after 22 years of exemplary service, Michael D. Myrick retired as business manager for Wayne County ABC Board on February 1, 2019, and plans to enjoy time with his children, Melanie, David, and Wes. Now, therefore it be resolved by the Wayne County Board of Commissioners recognizes the career and numerous community contributions of Lieutenant Colonel retired Michael D. Myrick, and thanks him for his dedication to the Wayne County ABC Board and the County of Wayne, adopted this the 5th day of February 2019. So we'll have people come down and approve them. Also, the board members from the ABC board are here, would like to go up and have their pictures made as well. Yeah, yeah. Yes, sir.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Motion is made. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Squeeze in a little more.
Can we squeeze a little more?
Thank you. Mike, you want to say something as well?
It's been an honor and a pleasure to serve the board and serve Wayne County. Couldn't have done it without the best board in the state. They're recognized as one of the best boards in the state. Our profit to sales ratio is outstanding. It's run efficiently and effectively. And I thank the county commissioners for their support over the last 22 years of being able to run this business the way it should be as a business. Thank you all very much. Appreciate that.
Okay.
I knew it.
We could interrupt for just a moment.
Oh.
Look at the monitor. We'd like to say happy birthday to Mr. Parker. And,
Wait a minute, this is a State Carolina Day, too.
yeah, I didn't. We actually didn't authorize that cake, but anyway, if everyone here today will join me, let's sing happy birthday to our county. Yes. You can put your microphones down. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Gordon. Happy birthday to you.
You're right. Thank you. I figured that Paula was here because I'd finally become a senior citizen.
I've got the paperwork, I'm ready to sign in.
You can partake after the board.
Get back on track. Now we have public comments time. Anyone wish to speak, please come up to the podium.
Nobody today?
No one today, so we'll close public comments time. Appointment Committee, Mr. Aycock.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We have several appointments today and reappointments. First one is Miss Diane Smith, adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee, and the appointment committee makes that in form of a motion.
Motion made, any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you.
Second one is Dr. Stephen Lees, Wayne County Board of Health, and that comes from the Board of Health, so we're good to go on that one. And that's in the form of a motion.
Okay, heard the motion. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you.
And, Mr. Chairman, we do have an opening on the Wayne, two openings on the Goldsboro Planning Commission. Ms. Carroll is working on that with some phone calls. And we also have one opening on the Wayne County Planning Commission, replacing Mr. Brent Heath that passed away, and we are working on filling that position. Have several reappointments. The first one is Dorothy Owens, Bessie Scott, Clarence Smith, Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee. That's in the form of a motion.
Heard the motion. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand.
Second one is Shanita Wilder Billups, Community Child Facility Prevention Team. That's in the form of a motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand.
All right, Mount Olive Board of Adjustments, Mr. Kenneth R. Lee and Patricia Stevens. That's in the form of a motion.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, raise your right hand.
All right, the number 4 is Mount Olive Planning Board, Mr. Kendall Lee and Reggie Strickland. That's in form of a motion.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand.
And the last one, number 5, Ethel Sampson, Adult Home Community Advisory Committee. That's in the form of a motion.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand.
That's all we have today, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we move to consent agenda, budget amendments, Mrs. Spade.
Yes, sir. Do you want me to review them?
Anybody questions on that? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda as written.
Motion to approve of consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. New business, Mr. Honeycutt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to introduce Allison, who will give our quarterly update on our financials through December 31st of this year.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You have in your packet the full financial report for both the County of Wayne and Wayne County Tourism Development Authority through December 31st of 2018. I've got a presentation here just to give you some highlights, but if you have any questions that come up along the way that's not on the slide, I'll be happy to answer those. First, to go over property tax revenues. Collected to date, $35.8 million. This is about 3/4 of our budget. Most of our collections do come in around December and January, so this is typical for us to get this much this early. We are ahead of prior year collections. Some of that could be due to timing, but I have been talking with Alan Lumpkin, and he does feel like we will have probably about $500,000 increase over last year, just roughly looking at the numbers. I need to correct this next bullet point about delinquent vehicle collections. That is supposed to say delinquent real estate collections are above prior year. So I apologize for that mistake. Going to vehicle taxes, we've collected $3.1 million to date. We're about $50,000 ahead of time last year, which is very good because if you recall, last year we were having an issue where our collections were actually going down some. And this had to do with some loopholes that people were finding in the tax and tag system. They have been working on those, and I think they've made some progress because we're seeing our collections go back up. The way this is set up, we should be at or near 99 to 100% collections, and that's where we're hanging around at. Because of that, delinquent collections are going down on vehicles because most of that is being collected up front. there's not as much delinquent to catch up on. So that's a good thing because that means we're getting it up front rather than after the fact. Sales tax revenues, we have collected $10.3 million to date. And I am happy to say that we have had an increase this year at this time over last year of $751,000. So I looked at January's. January's is not reflected in these figures here because I had already done my report, but it is also over and above last year. I think that's encouraging as we go into the budget season because if we continue to see this trend, then unlike last year, we can hopefully project some growth in that revenue. We've collected over 52% of the budget, and we're halfway through the year, so we are trending ahead of what we budgeted. Any questions on property taxes or sales taxes?
Mr. Chairman, and I had some concern in our budget that we adopted, and that is we basically flatlined that whole sales tax as if there would be no growth. And we definitely are seeing growth here because we're on track at this point to a little over $1 million or $1.5 million additional. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. If we continue to trend that way.
So we will be using a different analysis in this upcoming budget.
We did. We took a very conservative approach.
Very conservative.
We took, I would rather sometimes take a conservative approach than be too aggressive. But also on our property tax, and, if you also remember, this is revalued as well.
Good enough. Thank you.
Okay. This is for our, just some selected capital projects. If you have any questions about any others that are not on this slide, I'll be happy to answer those. The Maxwell Center construction portion is complete. That includes the farmer's market. Operational income to date is about $41,000. Now, that is just operational income. So I'm not including in that debt service or capital outlay because those are things that we knew, we would have to assist with. So this is what we have through 6 months out of the year, and as you see, they are over collecting on what we budgeted, so hopefully this will continue to improve. For the Grantham Sewer, we're approximately 73% of budget has been spent, but we are waiting for the final billing to close that project out. So hopefully by the next time I present to you, I'll have some final figures for you on that. And then for Meadow Lane and Edgewood, approximately 78% of the budget has been spent on that. We are waiting on the final payout for that as well, so I won't have any final figures for you on this project until I get that. And I've reached out to them, they've not received.
As long as you don't stand up to it with a budget amendment.
Yes, sir. Okay. Some other miscellaneous items on our proprietary funds. Indirect costs have not been booked yet. You will see those booked by the time we have our next quarterly report. This is just a reminder that this year EMS net is combined for, in your report for comparative purposes, but we are still tracking them separately in our accounting system. That way, if we want to get into a little more detail, it'll be a little bit easier to do that. Solid waste fees are actually up by quite a bit this year, about $700,000. A bulk of this is contributed to storm debris removal. Jetport, just an update on the corporate area expansion. I know you all have kind of mentioned this already. We've spent about $240,000 on that so far through December 31st. And I've already touched on Maxwell Center. The fees have exceeded expectations. Our rental of facilities especially is almost double what the original amount was budgeted. So, of course, this was our first year budgeting a full year, so this history will help us in budgeting for 1920, be a little bit more accurate. On our internal service funds, workers' comp is relatively stable right now. We've had a small increase in claims, but right now our cash is stable in that fund. Hospitalization has had an increase in claims so far of about $500,000. We are stable on the cash side because you all had made some changes in the past that would kind of help offset some small changes like that, but if we continue to have that trend, we may have to look at that. So we're keeping an eye on the fund balance. We're keeping an eye on the cash balance in that fund. But right now, it's okay.
Before we leave that page, on the Jetport, is that $240,000?
I'm sorry, is it $240,000? Yes, sir.
And basically, what is that for?
That is part of the corporate area expansion grant project. And I believe that I mean, that has some grant funds. I think that has a match going into it.
The total grant funding for the expansion was over $1,200,000 or 2.9, right?
What part of that, if just broadly, not exactly, what part of it is for physical construction and what part of it is for architecture fees? Is there a breakdown?
I could get you a breakdown. I don't have it up here with me, but we'll be happy to get that for you.
Am I in the ballpark that architecture fees is about 8% of the total? So that's probably 8% of that
Probably.
$240,000
To date.
to date.
That, I'm guessing that would be about right, but I'm really just, I'm issuing a guess here because I'm not sure.
So 8% of $240,000 is.
That would be about 16. I mean, but I mean,
Just broad.
I don't know if that would be a fair number to throw out, because I don't know if that's the right percentage. So, and I don't know what they've billed on that for architect fees yet. So I'd like to get you some more information if I could.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay? Any other questions on that? On fleet management, I wanted to point out, in case you look at your detailed report, the revenue appears low in that fund. There is some issues with the billing on that, but we are working with that office to rectify that situation, especially as we get ready to go into budget. So in case you saw that in report, I just wanted to point it out, just in case we had any questions. I think this is going to be it on county, unless you have any others.
Can we go back to that?
Yes, sir.
Because that was a question of mine.
Sure.
Why are you saying they're having an issue with billing? Because aren't we billing our departments?
We're having some internal billing issues that we're trying to get rectified now.
Internal billing issues?
Yes, sir.
We've just met with the staff last week to go over these issues and work out any questions that there may be about that, to help them in providing a reconciliation, whatever, we need to do to help them with that. So we have met with them last week, and we'll be watching that closely.
Right.
And I think they understood what the issues were.
Well, when your expenditures are twice your revenues, you got an issue.
Yes, sir, I agree.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions on the county side before I move on? Okay. For Tourism Development Authority, this is just going to be a real quick report unless you have questions. Once again, I'll just remind you that our collections on tourism is always 1 month in arrears. So through December is actually 5 months of collections. We have revenues of about $91,000. We are slightly ahead of budgeted, and we've collected about $15,000 more this time than last year. So it kind of seems to go trend with our sales taxes. We kind of see both of them sort of pick up and slow down at the same time, which makes sense. I mean, it's consumer driven, but that's good news for our budget year for next year as well for tourism. All the advertising monies have been spent to date. Unless we have an overcollection of revenue and decide to appropriate that, there will be no more advertising expenditures. Most of that is because there were some contracts that we reimbursed the city for that had to be paid up front. So that's why you'll see that budget item on your report depleted.
No advertising for the air show? Or is that already been?
They have that
in.
Well, they have that in their total budget, and if I'm not mistaken, I think part of that money was paid for already out of those advertising line items. But she gets a total budget for the year from the city and from tourism, a combined budget. So while our funds in tourism may have depleted, she should still have some city funds.
Mr. Chairman. This is the most complicated thing, and I've been on that board now for a year, and you all have really complicated it. Nowhere in this report does it indicate how much the county is receiving on our agreement with the city to help offset our cost at the Maxwell Center. Now, let me explain a little bit more from my viewpoint. What you're showing here is basically where the county is bringing in a 1% occupancy tax. We're putting our funds in with the city funds for them to pay out expenditures of advertising and personnel and everything else, which means absolutely nothing to us. What we're interested in is how much the county is receiving back from the combined tax to offset our cost, and it is nowhere in any of the reports.
I'll be
So
happy to do
if
that
you
for
will, going forward, I think it would help this entire board knowing
Okay.
what dollars we are getting back from the combined occupancy tax that we're using to offset our cost at the Maxwell Center.
Okay, I'll be happy to send that to you.
Thank you so
I'll
much.
provide an email to you to date through December, so you'll have that for this
Well,
quarter.
I'm more interested that the public would know that, so make sure it's in your reports there.
I
too.
will, and then I will do it in the future as
I
well.
think you provided that previously at some point when I was.
I think I've
You
just,
did.
I think I've quoted it to you here and there.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Because it always
it's-
looked better than I thought.
I mean, it's
it was.
200 and some odd thousand dollars.
And it's based on occupancy tax, so the good news is where you're seeing occupancy tax overcollected here, you're gonna see an overcollection on that line item as well. But I'll make sure to point that out in one of my slides next time.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Any other questions? The only other thing I put on there was just that we had paid out to Town of Mount Olive about $10,000 to date. They will, I'm sure, be requesting more than that as we get closer to the Pickle Festival. So we've got a good process now for reimbursing those. And I believe that's all I have for you, if you don't have any more questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On number 300 new business, discussion of changing the senior center hours as presented by the Services on Aging Director, Paula Edwards, and I'll turn it over to Paula.
Good morning. I'm here to discuss with you today about reducing some of the hours at the senior center. Just to give you a brief history, when we were on John Street, our hours were like the county hours, 8 to 5. And then, of course, the county went to a 4-day week, and we changed to 7:30 to 6, Monday through Thursday. But we were still open on Friday until noon because we serve meals to seniors 5 days a week, and we did not want to disrupt that, and also to provide for the seniors. And then, of course, we were blessed with our wonderful senior center that you know now. And when we moved in there, some hours were chosen. Monday through Friday, we open at 7:30 in the morning. And every day except Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, we're open to 8:30 in the evening. And on Wednesdays, we close at 6. Also, additional Saturday hours were added. We weren't open on Saturdays before, but we run from 10 to 2:30 on Saturday. Being director almost 4 years now, my observation and seeing the utilization of the senior center, really the latter part of the evening is not being used. And I presented to our advisory board on November the 13th about my concerns of being open till 8:30 in the evening. And they had voted to present to you a change in the hours and supported it by 100% during the meeting. And we're recommending that we're still open at 7:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday, but on Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, we like to close at 7, so that still allots us right much evening hours. And on Wednesdays and Fridays, we close at 5. And on Saturday, we open at 8:30 in the morning and close at 12. We're currently open 67 hours a week. That's 27 hours over the 40 hours that normally the county provides regular service. I'm just recommending that we reduce it by 10 hours. We'll still be open 57 hours a week. That's 17 hours over the normal 40. And I'm not looking to disrupt any of the programming that we have in the evening. Our top 2 programs that we have during the week are on Mondays and Tuesdays. Bingo, of course, you know, is very popular at the senior center. And that's on Mondays. And Tuesdays, we have line dancing through the Goldsboro Parks and Rec. And the adjustment there to accommodate that, to still not to affect the program, is that we will start 30 minutes early at 5:30 instead of 6. I spoke to the volunteers that run these programs. Actually, they would like to get home a little bit earlier themselves. So I don't think 30 minutes should affect the program in any way on that. We found on Fridays, I may stay late on Friday or stop in, and the only individuals there are my 2 staff. We might have 1 or 2 people, somebody sitting in the lobby reading the newspaper or on the computer, but not enough to really justify staying open that late. This will not interfere with special events. We have dances quarterly to 10 o'clock on a Friday. This Friday, we have the Starlight Dance Band till 9. So it will not interfere with anything like that if I want to do special programming for the seniors. So I just wanted to present that to you and see if you have any questions about this recommendation that I'm making to you today.
Any questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Do you provide 2 meals of breakfast and lunch?
No, sir, we just provide lunch Monday through Friday.
Just curious, that, no, sorry, go ahead.
Unless we have a special event.
Yeah,
We have
well-
done breakfast with the director,
Okay.
but not on a regular basis.
Ms. Edwards, I would like to encourage you to monitor the number even closer than this and possibly see, I mean, if you want to have 1 or 2 people for the first hour and a half or 2 hours or vice versa, I don't want to take anything away from the seniors, I don't get me
Right,
wrong.
correct.
But I would encourage you to monitor this for, say for 6 months or something. And see if, if you don't get but 30 minutes here, or you may need to add 30 minutes, just monitor it and because, I feel like that, the hours that your staff and I was having to put in, that, they deserve some time of their own too.
Correct.
I mean, is that asking too much?
Yes, sir.
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
Commissioner Aco? We have, the 2 years or more, we've monitored. I had staff to write down who was in, how many people were in the building after 5 o'clock and what rooms were they using. The purpose of the extended hours to evening, we do have seniors that work, and so we want to allow them time to come and use the fitness room. And 7 o'clock, if they work till 5, they have 30 minutes to get there. Most people, if they're going to do their exercises, they want to leave work, do your fitness, then go home, eat your dinner. And we have looked at that, and I have been there. I even called Mr. Chip one day. I had one of my staff that was sick on Friday at 6 o'clock. I had one man sitting there reading the newspaper and asked, could I close early since I did not, you want a certain amount of coverage. I will add too as well, my staff, I didn't want to mention it too much, but we're concerned about some safety issues. I have 2 females at night. And if it continue, then we need a security guard because we're having individuals with mental health issues, a lot of homelessness. Sometimes we're finding them on the back of our patio or in our park area. And we've had to threaten to call the Goldsboro Police Department or even call them. And it's not just homeless, just people walking in, driving up and coming in. And they've been talking to me ever since I've been directing their concerns. But I wanted to wait, see how it was utilized. And again, I don't want to damage any of the programs. And I have spoke to the leaders of the volunteers, and I have been monitoring and looking at it. And you can pull up old security cameras and see the usage, whether people are there late in the evening. So I'm just asking to close at 7 Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And of course, Wednesdays we already close at 6, but to make it more consistent, since we know that Friday a lot of people are leaving 5 o'clock, and Friday and the weekends most people have other activities, family things that they like to do. And we're just finding they're not using it after 5 o'clock on Friday, unless we have a special event.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Having served on the Senior Citizens Committee, and Ms. Edwards did a thorough presentation to us concerning this, and I think she referenced 100% support that we adjust the hours that she recommended. She did say the little bit of security part to last, because I know we're all sensitive about bringing up security, but as we know, sometimes things that happen, it appears nowadays it's happening of opportunity. And whenever you have folk running a site that it starts to get dark, they increase the opportunity of something to happen that may not happen at 12 o'clock in the middle of the day. She has a very loyal and active staff plus volunteers. And so, Mr. Chairman, I would strongly recommend that we adjust the hours to fit that situation that she suggests.
Mr. Mayor.
I make that in terms of motion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Motion is made. Any discussion, Mr. Mayor?
I just had another question.
Okay.
As far as security, do we have any security there at this time, like part-time or?
No, sir. No, sir. And the concern is, in the evening, we're it. We're back from the road. There's nothing around us. Anything can happen. And, you know, there's been a lot of discussion about that for the last 2 or 3 years.
I'd like for this board and Mr. Honeycutt maybe to take a look at this. I'm almost looking at your situation similar to the library, for example. I know you have some different clientele, but this day and time, I'm just saying that maybe we need to be proactive.
And that's why I'm doing this, to kind of cut the hours that I want to be proactive. We've had people to approach our seniors that apparently look, just, you know, look like they might be using drugs. And I have walked up to our side door and see beer bottles, meals left. We've had some concerns.
Okay.
And I have been in the building by myself, sometimes working, and I'll tell you, I get a little eerie, and I'm like, it's time to leave. So we are concerned about the public walking up to our seniors, and we've had problems with that.
Your fears are real. Remember, I used to run the employment office on William Street,
Yes, sir.
and and we would always leave during the wintertime. We'd always leave together. You can leave people when they're in there by themselves.
Right.
And library is the same way. You got a free place for them to use the restroom and that kind of thing. And it's probably the problems are not your seniors.
Right.
It's those other frequent flyers.
Yes, sir.
And they're a lot to worry about. And so we need to keep a close eye on that, because your neighbors next door at the Veterans Center, they're already gone
Correct.
most of the time.
Yes, sir.
So you don't
And they
have anybody-
can't see what's going on either.
I know. But
Yeah.
I feel your pain, so to speak.
Thank you.
Have you looked at seasonal hours? I mean,
Well, when we did the observation, I had this night staff to look at who's using it. It really didn't make a difference summertime nor wintertime. You might have 1 or 2. The max is 4 or 5 people. And for the cost of needing maybe a security guard or the staff being there, I could use them more when we have a lot of activities going on. That desk is very busy during the day. We have 1,000 members. Last month, we had 500 active sign in. But to be open for 4 or 5 hours when I can use that staff when we're in very busy, and we're still offering the evening hours. Again, I'm not going to cut any programs that are currently running. I don't want to damage anything or do anything to be detrimental to the senior center or to our seniors. But the majority of the seniors are going to use it during the day and then leave and go home. But again, we want to allow for time for fitness. But if they come at 5:30, they still have an hour and a half till 7 o'clock to use that fitness room, and that's plenty of time to work out for them.
would it be asking too much? You kind of come back in a couple of months and kind of keep a tally on how many uses it, say from 5 to 7, and would that be asking too much?
I can do it. I do whatever y'all would like for me to do, and how you want me to do it, we'll do it.
And I'm not trying to be the bad guy, but we're fixing to start on a budget, and it's going to be a very tight year, and we want to do everything we can. But then again, we're going to have to pinch the dollars this year. So,
Mr. Chairman, I beg the question here, but we're not. She can come back and give her all the data that is appropriate after 2 months, but as far as adjusting the hours, I would like for us to move forward with that, adjusting the hours.
I'm not questioning that part.
Well,
Not at all.
motion has been made.
I I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
Are most of the issues that you're facing, are they in the later hours of the day?
Yes, sir. Well, we have people coming during the day too,
Yeah,
but we have enough, we have a couple of males there and like Rob and Holt that can kind of help handle, and we have, we try to warn each other if we need help or anything. But it helps, we're busy during that time. The issue is when you have two females at night, you can look in, it's like sitting ducks. I mean, that's the best way I know to put it. They're getting very anxious, and I've put them off, and I said, and I did that, the survey, I said, look and see who's attending. When I stop in at night, I'm looking to see what rooms are used. After bingo and after line dancing, everybody's gone. Might have one or two, if at the most, that'll just sit around because we're open. Not because they have to do anything, they're just, and some just sit around because they don't want to leave the girls alone, and they'll walk with them out in the car. But that shouldn't be the seniors' responsibility, to me, that they're concerned even about the safety. And, but we have been watching it, and I've not seen an increase. If anything, a decline on Friday evenings. No one is there. 5 o'clock, it's a ghost town. But I am really concerned about the safety. I really am.
One more comment that I was just asked is that, a couple, 3 months from now, after we change the hours, if it passes today, is to also be looking at, you're adjusting the hours now. If there's any savings there, could you possibly look at a security guard at certain times you need it without a budget increase? I'm just asking a question because, it's already been said, we're watching our budget, but I would just like for you to look at that and see. But the bottom line is that we're having to do it across the county. We're having to do it in our schools. We've had to do it at DSS and Health Department, all these other things.
It's a different time.
When it comes down to it, we as a board are gonna have to make sure we keep our employees safe. So, but still take a look at that. Budget time's coming up, good time to look at it.
Okay, Mr. Cromartie made a motion to approve the change in senior center hours.
Can I just have a quick comment? I commend you for analyzing it and finding efficiencies.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand, please. Thank you.
And it's okay if I can clarify, you'd like for me to come back in 2 or 3 months to see if the usage to 7 is still, to make sure we're using it?
Just get the figures to Craig. I mean, you don't have to take, time out of your busy day.
Okay.
I mean, I just like to see the figures, right?
There's also security options maybe we can look at with cameras and buzzing and those type things as well. So we can get with IT and see if there's things that we can do after a certain period, if we're going to be open, after 5, that maybe there's some buzzing type that we let people in instead of it just being wide open. So there's some things with technology we can do as well. So we'll work with you on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good day.
All right, now we have the county manager's comments.
Before I start, I do want to turn it over to Ms. Allison. She has a figure with respect to the TDA dollars.
Okay, so I've looked up some information, and the amount that we have received to date from the city of Goldsboro for our share of the occupancy tax that goes towards Maxwell Center operations is $174,922. That represents 2 quarters, and that does exceed, right now, our budget expectations and last year's figure. So we're in good shape.
See, that number sounds good.
Can you imagine what it would be if we had a hotel right beside it?
So what you're saying is the operational costs pretty much break it even with that, we're in the black.
I'm sorry.
Would you say that we were in the black?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If you take out the, the one-time
When our
cost of
business people
capital
would
and
hear
things
that,
like.
we're in the black.
Right, right.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
what I did want to mention to you, and thank y'all for finding that, make sure that on the goal setting that we had, as the board is aware, we had that last week. We did not take any votes on any goals. So if there's specific goals or projects or concerns that you would like to look at us address in the upcoming year, please let us know. We will get you that list of projects. Then we will get it back to you, have you vote on them, and then we will look at prioritizing them and moving forward. But we want to make sure that if there's projects, issues, concerns, policy changes, things that you would like to see as far as goals from board members, that we're addressing those. So if you have those, please get them to me, and then we'll combine that list and get it to you and set the priorities for next year.
Just as a point of clarification, did you send something in hard copy about our last meeting that we had?
We gave everybody a hard copy of the goals and objectives that we had for this year.
Okay.
But I do apologize. I don't think we sent it. Commissioner Daugherty and Commissioner Bell could not attend. We do have those packages for you as well.
I won't there either.
Oh, and you're right, Commissioner Aycock as well. So, but no votes were taken during that meeting. So if there's programs, things that you would like to see us address, specifically, very broad, let us know, and we'll try to get those on a list and then have you vote, and we'll move forward from that. And, Mr. Chair, that's all I have at this time.
Commissioner Mayo.
I just had a few meetings. I attended the Base Community Council out on Base. This year it was early in the morning, but it was a good meeting. I think one of the concerns is, from the base standpoint, is that they would like to pull airmen closer to the base. You know, there's airmen that's living in other counties, driving 30, 45 minutes to get to Seymour. And what can we do as a community to help bring these airmen closer in to Seymour Johnson? That's a good point. So we also had our budget retreat, which we had a good meeting, but because we did have some commissioners that couldn't attend, we sort of put off some things to the next budget. We also had this past Monday, had a social services meeting, not this past Monday a week ago, had a Department of Social Services meeting, and we are continuing to grow and make progress in Department of Social Services. Tammy's here, our director. She's still doing a great job. We still have issues. We all admit that, but we're addressing them one at a time, as we're supposed to. And I feel good about the direction that we're going in the Department of Social Services. There's a lot of things coming up this year. It's already, a lot of things are on our docket as commissioners. We got a lot of projects that we got to decide what we're going to do for funding and how we're going to utilize, and we've got a work session today about that very thing. So looking forward to this year, and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Cromartie.
Yes, sir. I may want to, but just like they do in other bodies, I might need to reserve my comments to later on, and I think we're going to be here for some information, and based upon that information, my comments may need to be reserved for another time. But on the short side of it, I would like to thank our Soil and Water Department, and if I got this right, Ashley and Thomas, is that okay? They have been doing and working on the cleaning out the streams. And I got a call from a constituent thanking me for my part in it, but I'm just a middleman, and I want to highlight the work that department is doing, trying to make sure that as much can be done is being done. And I want to also bring out the fact that that whole project that they're doing is just a small part of a larger problem. The greater Dudley area needs a lot more than that snatch and grab. I'll just leave it at that. But also at our last luncheon with the farmers, one of the young farmers out of the Rosewood area brought to my attention that he has about 20 acres of land that can no longer be used because of a flooding issue. So I want to encourage our county manager and the overall administration to be watchful of anything that comes down the path through Golden Leaf, anyone else that could afford some real dollars to work on the overall draining issue in Wayne County, not just in one particular area, because I serve in District 2, and Dudley probably is the most, in the southern part of Goldsboro, is probably the most damaged area, but that does not exclude sites like the young farmer shared with me, and I would want to bring that to our overall attention. I don't ever want to leave my opportunity to make a comment that I always want us to be concerned and looking out for opportunities for skill training for young people. There's no replacement in this society for the opportunity for young people to have skill training that can turn into a very worthwhile way to make a living. We concern ourselves with economics, but it's never going to be solved until everyone has the ability to make a decent wage, a livable wage. And the route to that is through skill training, which takes you into another level of life. So I'll just close it at that for the moment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Daugherty.
Maybe a little chatty today.
Okay.
First of all, I want to bring everybody up to date in regards to what is happening at our jetport. I want to commend Commissioner Mayo and his efforts while he was on the jetport board of actually getting a $2.9 million grant from NCDOT. The $2.9 million grant was to construct an additional corporate pad area for 4 additional hangars at our jetport. The expansion of our jetport has just been put off and put off and put off, and we're finally moving in that direction, and I want to thank you for that. The $2.9 million was not only for the actual site work, but additionally it was for additional water suppression. Lo and behold, we don't have the water capability to actually provide fire suppression at our jetport. So approximately $1 million was set aside for water suppression. Since that time, we have gone back to NCDOT and recently have gotten an additional $790,000 to fulfill the majority of that funding. We have also applied for a $200,000 grant from the Golden Leaf Foundation. So altogether, we're hoping that most of those improvements at the jetport will actually come from grants and not be a burden on our tax dollars. The second thing I want to bring up is a recently event in regards to a selection of our new senator. Last week, we were able to make a selection of a senator to replace Senator Pate, and he is Jim Perry out of Lenoir County, and he was actually sworn in, I think, yesterday, is to actually have an official swearing in this Thursday. I think invitations are going out for that. We all need to get behind Mr. Perry and support him in his endeavor. I'm sure he's got big shoes to fill. The other thing I want to point out is we owe Senator Pate a great attaboy for the job he's done for our county. He has been in Raleigh for some 16, 17 years, both in the House and in the Senate, and has been a steadfast supporter for not only Wayne County, but all of eastern North Carolina. Sometimes being in public office kind of stretches you a little thin in regards to your being able to be with your family and do things that you want to do. So it is a great sacrifice that Senator Pate has had. The last thing I want to point out is this gentleman, this citizen of Wayne County, feels like Senator Pate has got a raw deal. And I, for one, want to point it out. I want to take you all back to the fact that we're asking individuals, citizens, to step up and file for office, generally in the first part of the year. Generally, that's January or February. And in February, you file for office. We don't know what is in store for us in August and September and October. We have no idea. I, for one, saw that I took on a mantle of being chairman of this board in December, and in February, I was in Wake, actually in Raleigh at Rex, getting a 5 bypass. You don't know what's in store in the future. Senator Pate was faced with an affliction in the summer, long after his filing. He, like I and most of us, feel like that we're resilient and we'll bounce back very quickly. And I'm sure that was in his mind. Unfortunately, it did not materialize, and he didn't bounce back quite as rapidly as he anticipated. So I think we need to be mindful of that before we criticize Senator Pate for actually trying to complete his active campaign for another term in the Senate. I applaud him, I thank him, and I think we all owe him a debt of gratitude. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Stoddard. Mr. Bell.
Mr. Chairman, I did attend the Gateway meeting. Didn't know too much about what was going on. They seemed to be in pretty good financial report, thanks to, I guess, Commissioner Doherty and others that. Or did you have any credit for it? Do you get any credit for that? But anyway, it turned out pretty good. I didn't see anything that deserved reporting right now, so I will continue to go. And to mention what Mr. Mayo said about the airmen living a distance away from the base, that's a commander's responsibility to tell his people where and how far away they can live. I don't think this board or the MAC or anybody else can tell those airmen how far they can live away or how close they can live. That's not a function that this board should even be concerned about. So that's the commander's responsibility on base. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Mr. Acock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few things. I did attend the installation of officers for the Wayne County Firefighters Association out at Lane Tree. Went well. Had a good turnout. Our elected officials and judges and all had a good representation, and they're very grateful for being invited. Also tonight, the monthly meeting of the Firefighters Association will be at Indian Springs. I also had the pleasure of attending the TAC and the TCC meeting at LaGrange for highway projects in eastern North Carolina. I also attended the Highway 70 corridor meeting in Smithfield. We still stay very active in that, even though our section of the Highway 70 is completed. But we still need to be involved and support Johnson County, Lenore County, the other counties that Highway 70 runs through. I think one of the interesting things that one of the speakers at the event in Smithfield stressed the importance of our community colleges with the trade schools, the trade programs, the courses that, and he was very clear, some families, they just can't afford to send a child to a 4-year university or college, and he's stressed right now probably one of the leading economic development and driving the workforce is the training that our community colleges all over North Carolina can provide and are providing. And we need to really stay on our senators and representatives in Raleigh to make sure that our community colleges gets the proper funding for these courses, because, you know, we all can't be doctors and lawyers and pilots and all. We've got to have that skilled labor, and the place to provide it is with our community colleges. And also, last night I got my senior yearbook and destroyed it. So I don't think there was anything in it, but that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Page.
I thought about looking at mine. Anyway, they wouldn't recognize me those days. I had hair. I haven't been a whole lot. I've been sick, guys. I've had the flu, me and my wife. And I spoke at the Eagles, 3 Eagles Rotary on the 23rd. I was at the hospital that morning. I should have stayed there. But I missed a number of things. I hated to miss Al Peterson's retirement, and I've known him for so many years. He's done such a great job with my folks out on base, and hate to miss base council. But hopefully my wife and I are on demand, and we're back. Don't get that stuff. It's bad. I'm done.
Thank you. Most things have been covered, but I would like to mention that a couple weekends ago, the Shriners were here for their annual winter ceremony, for the first time ever being out of New Bern, and that was because of the flooding to Florence. But it had a large crowd here. I had the pleasure doing the welcome. They had a large time, and they were really complimentary of our facility out there. So that makes you feel good when you go somewhere and you can have out-of-town guests come in and tell you, just not locals. And to Mike Meyer, congratulations on his retirement. He's served us well with honor and integrity, and Mike's done a great job for us. And Craig, thank you for following up on the STEM Fair judges. I think it's going to be in March. Carol and Joel has graciously volunteered to do that. I had the honor of doing it last year. The only advice I can probably give you is don't let them intimidate you. Because those kids are smart, and it's going to be overwhelming as things you see. It's something else. And that's all I have. Anyone else? If not, Mr. Bell.
Just for the benefit of Croatia and Pearl, I know they're listening this morning. Could you give us a little update on the remodeling of their buildings over there?
We're waiting on permits from the city of Goldsboro.
So we'll be finished by end of May.
We're
Yeah,
still
we
waiting
can start
on
it by
permits,
then.
is my understanding.
Push them, Mr. Bell.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Can I take just a second? Commissioner Bell, I sort of want to clarify what we were talking about at the Base Community Council meeting. Colonel Yates and, of course, the previous base commander, Colonel Slocum, had asked for these same things. They evidently don't have, they give airmen a choice nowadays because they're able to live off base. And according to what I'm understanding, they don't have, they probably could, but they don't have a mandate on how far these airmen stay from the base. And the same things were brought up the other day as when Colonel Slocum was here. The reason that he would like for us all to come together to bring these airmen back closer to the base is because of the reasons that they are living away from the base, which is a lot of them are living outside of the county for different reasons. Maybe they like the schools better or whatever. So from what Colonel Yates is saying is that he would just like for us to come together and unify to see what we could do as a community to help bring these airmen closer back into Wayne County.
Well, Mr. Mayor, what I was saying, that is strictly a base commander and wing commander's responsibility to tell their people in writing, if they need to, how far they can live away from the base. It's always been done that way. The community doesn't have anything to do with that, is what I'm saying.
We do as far as what we provide to attract airmen to come to Wayne County. Such as our
I'm
schools.
only retired from the military, so I should know.
I'm saying we are in it together when it comes to schools and brick and mortar, and that's all I'm saying is that He was asking us to come together to help them, and, which we are.
Unless you give them
We
3
are.
hours.
Thank you.
Until we wait for Mr. Honeycutt to come back, I think they're here now.
If we want to take about a 5-minute recess.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That's what I was
And
suggesting.
they're for there.
Good.
Unless you got 3 hours.
All right, 5 to 7 stretch.
Yes, sir.